What's up, you guys? Today I'm going to be showing you how to change your oil in your Sportster. This is a 2011 Iron 883. This should be the same for most bikes 2004 and up. This will be specifically for 08 and up. All share the same oil capacity, but they're all generally the same for the fuel injected models. Alright, so these are the tools you're going to need. A flathead screwdriver to drain your oil. Either an oil filter wrench, or I like to use these K&N oil filters, and they have a 17 millimeter bolt head on it. So 17 millimeter socket and ratchet, and these are optional. It's just a funnel that you put up to your oil filter. When you take your oil filter off, it usually pours oil all over your frame and motor case. But I mean, these don't work perfect, but they definitely save a lot of mess. And then you're going to need oil. For the 08 nut models, they take 3.8 quarts. Usually you can only get like 3 in there, but I like to buy 4 quarts of oil, and then obviously an oil filter. For the 04 to 7 models, they only take 2.8 quarts, so you'd be safe just buying 3 quarts of oil. I like to use AMSOIL 2050 full synthetic just in my engine, not in my transmission or primary case. So now we're going to go for a little ride and warm the bike up enough to where we can start changing our oil. Alright, so now that the bike is warmed up, it is time to drain the oil. I like to place my bike in a bike stand with the bike standing straight up. This is an argument that I see all the time, is that when you're filling your oil, should it be on the Jiffy stand or should the bike be standing in the straight up position? So my dealership says that they change the oil in all their bikes standing straight up. The manual, on some manuals, it says to change it on the Jiffy stand. If you go on any HD forums, there's a bunch of arguments about it. So what I do is I like to keep the motorcycle standing straight up, and I fill the oil up to the full capacity. That way when it's on the Jiffy stand, it's right between full and fill. So once you get it parked and warmed up, let it cool down for about a minute or so to let all the oil settle, and then you can go ahead and start draining the oil. I forgot to mention that you're going to need a drain pan. This is an old hubcap off of an old Ford pickup truck. I use it because it fits perfectly under my motorcycle and it holds like 4 quarts of oil, so more than enough. So first step is to remove your dipstick and just pop it out like that. And then you go to your drain hose coming from your oil tank, and that has a hose clamp on it right there, which is a flathead screwdriver, or if you can get a 1/4 inch drive on there, that'll work too. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and loosen this and start draining our oil. Careful, oil is probably going to be a little warm since you just got done running your bike. And just pull the plug out. Now, this hose is pretty small, and it's going to take a while to drain all the oil in the tank, so just give that a couple minutes to drain. And then once that's all drained, I like to drain it till it's pretty much all gone. Put the plug back in if you only have one drain pan, and then start to drain your oil filter. Alright, so now that that's pretty much almost done draining, I'm going to go ahead and switch our pan out for a cup so it can continue to drain while I take the oil filter off, to try to get as much oil as I possibly can out. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead, take our ratchet, and remove our oil filter. And allow that to drain. There's going to be some oil that comes out. And like I said, these funnels work good, but they do not work perfectly, so there was still some oil that was able to get past it. But, I mean, they definitely do help. Just quickly make sure that the gasket surface for your oil filter isn't all full of dirt and grime when you take your filter off. Mine actually had a little bit of dirt that dropped down up top, so you can go ahead and just wipe around that to clean it up before you install the new filter. Okay, so now that all of our fluids have finished draining, you can just give your little plug a wipe down in case you got any dirt in there or anything. And then we can go ahead and reinstall it. I'll just go ahead and get this cup out of the way. Push the plug in, grab your screwdriver, and you don't have to extremely over tighten this, but make sure it's snug enough to where you're confident it's not going to be coming off while you're riding. That could be a disaster. Just tighten it usually until you feel a decent amount of resistance. You don't want to ruin the hose itself either. So I also like to make sure that this ain't dangling down super low to where it can snag anything while you're riding. Just make sure it's not stupid low. You can actually push this thing up and down. As you can see, the hose, if you can see through here, runs up to your oil tank right there. So you can push it up a little bit if you think that it's too low. Alright, now we're going to install the oil filter. I like to give it a little wipe down in here to get all the oil off. Make sure it's clean in there. You're not going to be able to get to it once you install the filter. So with the oil filter, before you install it, always get a little bit of oil on your finger and rub it around the gasket surface of the filter. Like so. Get your hands real nice and dry and clean. I would even go as far as using some brake clean or something, and go ahead and screw it on. So once you get this screwed on, you want to make sure that you get it hand tight. And once you get it hand tight, I like to go back with my ratchet or oil filter wrench and just give it about a half turn. You don't want to torque it down too much because it'll be a pain in the butt when you go to change your oil the next time. Also, I like to get under the oil filter and just make sure to wipe down any oil that squeezed out from when you tightened it from the gasket, so you can go back and make sure that your oil filter isn't leaking. Just do the same with your drain plug. Go ahead and wipe that down so you can go back to make sure that's not dripping either. Now it's time to put oil on the bike. I like to dump 2 quarts in it, and then on the 3rd quart I'll dump about 3/4 in and check the fluid, see where we're at. So once you have almost 3 quarts of oil on the bike, go ahead and start it. Bike run for about 1 minute, then shut it off. So then go ahead and check your oil again. And right there, we're pretty much at the full line, which is good. So I'm gonna take it off of the motorcycle stand, put it on the kickstand, and see where we're at on the kickstand. So sitting on the kickstand, go ahead and check the oil. As you can see, it's right in between fill and full, which is where the manual recommends it. So now you're going to go and check for leaks on your oil filter and your drain plug. Make sure there's no leaks, and then go ahead and take your bike for a ride, And then check your oil a couple times here and there just to make sure that it's still in the safe zone. Obviously, I like to jot down whenever I change my oil and the miles, and then make sure to change your oil every 3,000 miles, if not every 2,500 miles won't hurt it. So there it is.